So today's first question is this one over here. And it is interior design, is an interior design degree a farce? Isn't design a personal taste, opinion, or preference rather than facts? Is interior design on its own a farce? No. I mean, it I won't say it makes the world go round, because that would be untruthful. But it does, I think, actually show people sort of the way to make their environment better, and that's why I do it. I mean, there's no word of a lie here. This isn't something that I've actually just sort of gone into lightly. I went into it because I wanted to go into it. So interior design itself isn't a farce, because it does bring joy to an awful lot of people. It's a living for a great many people, including myself, and it makes sense to do that. I think what I would probably say is design is a personal taste and opinion and preference. And I've said this many times before, but it's very much to do with the client's interpretation of that. It's not necessarily yours. So there is that. You're putting together somebody else's vision, if you like. This is not you imposing your vision. So in that respect, it is design is a preference. The degree itself is something very different. Is an interior design degree a farce? It's not, because it teaches you how to do certain things. I was thinking about this the other day. If you have somebody who is fresh out of school, who would I want someone, if something happened to me and I had to wave a magic wand and say, here are all your projects, Belinda, who do you want going in to do these? Do you want somebody who is fresh out, who's got the design degree, or do you want somebody who hasn't got a design degree but has got all the experience? To me, it's a no-brainer. Experience will trump qualifications every single time. What qualifications do is that they help you and give you confidence to say, oh, I remember this. We spoke about spatial awareness. We spoke about when someone sits down and how much space we should leave between a coffee table and a sofa. It sounds daft, but that will give you confidence to say, yes, we did this. The general consensus is it needs to be. That's really what a degree gives you. It looks great on your website. I've got a degree here. I've got a degree there. I totally get it. But I don't necessarily know that it's actually, shall we say, necessary. Which brings me to one of the really obvious ones, which is people really can't do what I do, what we do as designers. There's an awful lot of people that would love to say, I'd be great to, I can be a designer, and they come up with the most amazing things. Top of the list has to be, everyone says I've got great style. Next on the list is my friends all love my home. They always say that, they always ask me to do their places when I do my friends. They always ask me for my advice. So whereas I would say that this is personal taste, opinion, and preference is true, there are certain facts. And in fact, I've got other videos which I've done on sort of 7 elements of interior design and sort of things, what you need to be an interior designer, what sort of, attributes you need to have. And I stand by those. But I would absolutely say 100% that you do absolutely need to have, patience and your organizational ability and all that kind of stuff. But personal taste and opinion, it's handy to have, but this will be sculpted in some ways as you go along. You'll get to see what works and what doesn't, what looks good, what doesn't. You start looking at things in a totally different way. So the degree itself isn't a farce. That gives you something to show to people, and it gives you perhaps something to fall back on. Maybe that's the other thing that it does, but it's not something that I would ever say. I'd rather have somebody who's worked as doing an internship, an apprenticeship, and worked, for a couple of years somewhere, than someone who said, I've got 3 degrees in interior design. That means nothing. Until you've been out on the road, it means nothing. Can I become an interior designer without a degree? Is it like law, architecture and nursing jobs where the law will not permit me to work without a degree? Now, you'll see on this we have actually quite a few people who have replied to here. Mostly the people that have been here are talking about the US. Over in America, I don't know that there's really anybody that is really answering for anybody here over the UK. To my knowledge, there is nothing to stop anybody from becoming an interior designer. If there were people such as Kelly Hoppen, I'm sure you'll know about Kelly Hoppen. It's really all this type of stuff. So it's very grey and beige and everything else. In actual fact, so it's this type of thing. As you can see, it's very lots of black and white, very grey, very beige, creams, sands, mushrooms, and all the rest of it. A few bits of gold, a bit of silver, marble. If you see what I mean, it's very. She was on that sort of zeitgeist of. She was on that sort of zeitgeist of interior design when this type of style was coming into play. And Kelly Hoppen doesn't have a design degree, and she doesn't need one, because she is, for want of, in no particular order, she's good at what she does. She knows the detailed way that you have to work if you are doing this type of work, especially the higher you get, the more stressful and the more exact that you need to be for certain things. And she sort of got into this, she rid that sort of zeitgeist up when things were going into greys and beiges and all this type of stuff, and that whole simplicity, that whole, if you like, luxury. It wasn't wacky, zany, it wasn't 1970s, sort of brown and orange. It wasn't, it wasn't necessarily minimal as things sort of moved on, because this whole thing has sort of become a huge deal now. She's done well without a degree, and I think if I remember rightly, she started off doing a kitchen when she was 16, and it's gone from there. And I think fair play to her. If that's what you love doing and that's what you want to do, and etc., then you should do that, and no qualification should tell you or tell you not what to do it. I do, however, think that these people on here are going to be reasonably right. I mean, there is some truth in what Kerry Andrew has put down here. A portfolio of work you've done at home. Not necessarily true, but fairly quite simple. Design centre where you can work in, really good idea to do. Interning with an established designer is the best thing that you can do, because you will see it firsthand and you will experience. You'll be sent out doing all sorts of weird and wonderful things. And interior design shops in your area, I would do that if you're really young. If you're really young, that's kind of like how I would start. But I don't think you actually need a degree. It really isn't a barrier. And you start thinking about things. So, what happens when there never were a degree ever in the entire world? Do people just not bother with their interiors then because there wasn't a degree to go with someone to do it? I don't think so. So you don't need a degree, but it's quite helpful to have one. Will the law permit you to? Certainly over here in the UK, yes. I mean, it's like anything. I think there's quite a few of those sort of things now that you can get away with. Anything to do with design and creative, people make their own way. If you have something that somebody else wants, be it a service or a product, and you're providing that, I really think you're going to be able to make a living no matter what. Just work hard, find your way, and you'll find your way, whether you do it academically or whether you do it by experience.